What's going on, guys? Anthony Wade here, and welcome to the show. As you can tell, things have changed just a little bit. We are in episode number 1 of the Lead 360 podcast. Now, I know you're probably used to hearing whose or is this, and while I love that analogy, I love the podcast. We're taking it into a different direction. As you know, I do run the Lead 360 Academy, which is my coaching group, and as we get ready to roll out some more programs, especially as I get ready to start speaking more to the youth and to high schoolers and elementary kids and specifically young men, we are starting to another project, which is the Lead 360 Youth. And we're going to be having this platform expanding just not only to adults, but also kids as well. And in the future, I'll let you know how you can become part of that and have a meaningful mission if that's something that you are looking for. So without further ado, let's jump into episode number 1 of the Lead 360 podcast. And with this one, I wanted to really take some time to kind of share my journey and what this Lead 360 means to me and where it came about. Also, 10 rules for becoming a 360-degree leader, a 360 leader, which if you think about the term 360, this is full circle. This is not just leading from a title or position, but it's leading from your core, from who you are. And, as I look at this 360 leader, what it means for me is that, we can definitely go and get the achievements, the titles, the positions, the rank, if you're in the military, and still be empty on the inside. And we can have it all put together and a front that we put on for those that we lead and those that we, wherever we go. But what I found is that it's only a matter of time before your character's found out. And that's exactly what happened to me. 7 years ago, I was a newly commissioned officer and I got my education. I was, had a new family, newly married, and we were having our first son. This was about 9 years ago now. And what I found was that I never been more afraid in my life of all this change, because although I was bouncing from achievement to achievement, I wasn't pausing to allow the growth to catch up to me, meaning I was bigger on the outside than I was on the inside. And if you know my background, I wasn't given anything. It was really, struggle was my baseline. And what I thought is that I needed to have more in order to be somebody, to be more. And what that did was it sent me on this journey to trying to get to the next achievement, trying to get the next, medal, trying to get the next attaboy, the next pat on the back, the next validation from somebody. And I thought that if I could go and achieve more, then maybe I could be more. And maybe I would be loved more. Maybe I would be accepted more. Maybe I would be validated more. Maybe somebody would say, hey, I'm proud of you. And let me tell you, I was very disappointed because none of that ever happened. What I found was that it took for me to become the person to look in the mirror and be able to look at myself and say, I'm proud of you, that I validate you. You see, a lot of us go through life and we try to get these achievements. We go for the bachelor's, the master's, the doctorate degree. And we get into jobs that we hate, and we get into a profession that is not fulfilling, and we get into these roles in life, and everything's superficial. Our relationships, our health, we're 1 meal away from diabetes, 1 meal away from a heart attack, one conversation away from a divorce, one conversation away from losing a family member. And I see it over and over again. And what I realized was in my life is that if I don't start working on my character and start growing on the inside, everything on the outside is going to fall apart. And maybe you're there too. But what happened was I was able to get mentors in my life, really just kind of surrender and say, I can't do this no more. I can't try to do this on my own, that I need somebody to show me the way. And, growing up without a father, especially as a young man, it was hard to try to navigate how to be a man. I never had an example of a positive male influence. And so, going out and finding mentors that were able to be vulnerable and transparent and compassionate with me allowed me to really take a deep look inside of me and realize that the problems aren't on the outside. The problem is on the inside. And here's what I want you to understand is that we can never look for external solutions for an internal problem. Nobody's going to be able to fix you, just like nobody was able to fix me. But what they were able to do was allow me to go inside and realize that there's so much potential inside of me. And if I will pause and stop chasing achievements and start chasing character, don't worry about the credentials, focus on your character, then the things in your life will begin to change. And that's exactly what happens. So what you see today, the speaking on stages in front of thousands of people, the podcast, the coaching, the success I'm having in my professional life, the success that I'm having in my personal life, that was not something that happened overnight. It happened over time. And what it took was for me to figure out the principles and practices that allowed me to have personal and professional success. And so this podcast, this Lead 360 podcast, is going to be a documentation of what I've been able to do and how I've been able to do it as I navigate leadership. Because unlike most people out there, the things that I'm talking about are things that I'm doing. I'm in the game. I'm on the field. I don't have it figured out. I'm not, some guru who's at the end of the road trying to tell you where to go. I'm on this journey with you. And so this podcast is really a documentation as we navigate leadership together, because many of you who are listening to this are looking to get into leadership roles. Maybe you lack the confidence to lead by example. Maybe you lack the discipline to try to go out there and stay consistent with what you're trying to do in your health. Maybe you're just looking to try to be a better person for your spouse and your kids. Whatever that is, if this message resonates with you, this podcast is where you want to go, and you want to join me on this journey of leadership, then welcome. So let's get into the 10 rules for becoming a 360 leader. I sat down and I was thinking about episode number 1 and what I wanted to talk about. And I thought, what better way to lay the foundation than to talk about, kind of these 10 rules of becoming a 360 leader. And I want you to think about these, and you don't have to do all 10 of them, but I want you to take at least 1 or 2 and ask yourself, how am I living these out? These principles or these rules of a 360 leader, am I living them out? And if so, how? And if I'm not, then how can I? You see, I don't want this to just be a feel good kind of listen to it, get inspired. I want you to take action, because without action, there is no transformation. Action is the catalyst for transformation. And so rule number 1 for a 360 leader is you lead by example. Now, this means that you're a practitioner, not just a preacher. Anybody can go and read books on leadership. Anybody can go and listen to a podcast on leadership, but it's another thing to take what you've learned and apply it to your life. You learn it, you live it, and then you lead it. Most people want to lead it and maybe learn it, but they don't want to live it. And I want you to understand that the most powerful influence in your life, or the most powerful lever of influence, is what you do. People will follow what you do way before what you say. They're looking at you, they're watching you, and there's people watching you right now that you have no idea that you are influencing them. And now, if it's a positive or negative, that's up to you. But I want you to start asking yourself, am I a practitioner of what I'm preaching, or am I just preaching? You lead by example. This means that you never give a command that you have yet to follow. You never give a command that you are not willing to follow. This means that you are leading by example, that you're willing to get your hands dirty. You're willing to do the work. And that's why you see me, sharing things that I do on social media. This is why, if you follow me for some time, that I'm constantly pushing the standard for myself, because if I'm going to lead you, then I have to first lead me. And if I'm going to hold you to a standard, then I have to hold myself to a standard. And most leaders today don't have any standards, but they're very quick to enforce standards on other people. And I can't tell you how many people in leadership positions that I see this today, is that they tell you, do as I say, not as I do. And that's an old way, an old method of leading. And it's never going to work, especially in today's, society and where we're at as a country and as a culture. And so leading by example means that you go first. Okay. Number 2, you have a clear vision of where you're going in life. If you're leading people, right? If you have family, if you're married, if you're leading in your organization, and people are following you, then what are you following? It should be your vision of where you're going. What are you creating and why? A lot of people just go through life aimlessly. And here's the thing: vision without action is worthless. Action without vision is reckless. And so, do you have a clear vision of where you're going? What do you want to create? What's your life going to mean when you come to the end and you're faced with, what was my legacy? What are you doing outside of your 9 to 5 to create meaningful memories, and really looking at your vision when you close your eyes and say, this is where I'm going, this is what I want my life to be? And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I'll tell you that without a vision, you will wander aimlessly through life. And most people quit and give up well before they reach their goal because they lack vision. And I can tell you that, training for this Ironman coming up this weekend, one of the things that I'm able to do is visualize how I'm going to be on the swim, how I'm going to, be on the bike ride, how I'm going to be on the run, what it's going to feel like when I cross the finish line. When my kids and my family are there watching me, what does that vision look like? And I can tell you what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. And that clear vision gives you a sense of purpose and motivation to continue to go when it gets hard. And if you are telling yourself, Anthony, I need more discipline. Here's the thing. You don't need more discipline. You need a clearer vision, because with the clear vision, you have understanding. And when you have understanding, no longer are you afraid of the unknown. And most people today, I'm telling you, lack vision. And without it, you will never get to where you want to go. And so 2, you have a clear vision. A 360 leader has a clear vision. They know where they're going, and they're so convicted of where they're going that they have people convinced that they can lead. And if you have a vision, then yes, you can lead. And so most people lack conviction. So therefore, nobody's convinced, because with conviction comes confidence. And with the clear vision, like I said, you don't fear the unknown. So you have this confidence about you, and people can feel it, and they want to follow that because they're going to cling to a confident leader. If you trust somebody who lacks confidence, probably not. And when you lack confidence in yourself, you don't trust yourself. And so 3, you challenge yourself daily. Physically and mentally, you should be challenging yourself and getting out of your comfort zone, whether this is working out, going for a run, doing something that you've never done before that's pushing you. Because what I found is through exercise, you challenge, yourself physically, and there's a mental part to that too. And you build this resiliency. And one thing that I love doing is first thing in the morning is working out, going for a run, or waking up at 4 o'clock and going for a swim, because knowing that I'm able to do that hard stuff first thing in the morning makes the rest of the day easy. When you make the hard choices in life, life becomes easy. But when you take the easy choice, life becomes hard. And I want you to understand that when you challenge yourself, you're able to build and fortify that mindset of discipline and mindset of, I'm going to get it done regardless of how I feel. If your biggest challenge is in the 4 walls of your home, or in the 4 walls of your office or your profession, then you have bigger problems. I always tell my students as an instructor, if your biggest challenge is your book right in front of you, then you're not challenging yourself enough. It's the challenges that we put ourselves in under controlled circumstances that allow us to perform when things become out of control. If we can control it, it's controlled chaos. And if I can put myself in this controlled chaos and learn to grow through it, when things become chaotic and out of my control, I'm able to have this mental resilience that says, I can get through this too. If I can go through that, then I can get through this. And when you have that mentality, there's nothing that's going to stop you from pursuing what it is that you want. And when the people that are following you see this, they understand that they are in the right place and they're being led by the right person. And so what's your biggest challenge? How are you challenging yourself every single day? Because if you don't challenge yourself, without challenge, there is complacency. And with complacency becomes comfort. And your comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. And so you have to challenge yourself daily. 4, you invest in your key relationships. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this with, executive level leaders and, I'd say any level leader. But what happens is we get so caught up in our work. It's easy to go to the office and perform. It's easy to do our job. It's another thing to try to go do our job, then come home and be the person that we need to be for our family. As a father, as a husband, my family doesn't salute me when I come in the house. My wife doesn't say, yes, sir, no, sir. In the military, it does. But I have to remember that rank is temporary. That position is temporary. What you're doing is temporary. It can be taken away at any given time. And so how foolish is it to invest all your time and energy and effort into things that can be taken away in an instant? Now, your family, you can have for a lifetime. But most people don't realize this. They treat people how they do because they can until they can't. You keep pushing your kids away. You keep, neglecting your marriage. Then guess what? Eventually it's going to be gone. And then who's going to be there whenever the title, the position, the money runs out? And so you have to understand that you have to invest in your key relationships, those you lead and those you love. And it's not about so much about balance. It's about intention. Okay. Intention backed by action. And I know you're probably saying, well, you don't understand. I'm busy. Well, look here. I'm a full-time naval officer. I have a coaching business. I speak. I travel to speak. I have 2 kids and a wife, and I train for Ironman. Like, I get it. I have so many things that I have my hands in and that I'm doing, but nothing will ever come between time invested with my kids and my wife and those I lead. If I'm at work and somebody stops me and they have a question or they need my help, that meeting can wait. That email can wait. Those paperwork, whatever it is that I'm doing, that can wait. That person needs me in this moment. I'm going to give them my full attention, because I have realized that sometimes that's the difference between somebody who, is maybe thinking about taking their life and somebody who decides to stay around for a little longer because of what you said or what you did. And I know it sounds kind of dark, but we're in a time right now where people are dying to be led. They're eager to be led. They need people like you to invest in people like them. And when we get too busy, or we neglect to do so, or we're not intentional every single day, we miss these opportunities to add value to people's life. And guess what it does for you as a leader? It increases your value, your self-worth, your self-image. Because there's days where I go through and think, man, you know what? Who wants to listen to me? What do I have to give to anybody? And then that moments come where I help somebody, that I'm reminded that, yes, I do matter, that I am a great leader, and that I do make a difference. And the same thing goes for you. Where are you missing those moments because you have not been intentional with those you lead and those you love? Okay. Number 5, halfway there, you lead with character over credentials. Now, you probably heard me say this, but you see, a 360 leader desires for people to follow them and to trust them for who they are as a person, not what they do for a position. And I can't tell you how many times I hear people lead with these credentials. I'm the director. I'm this, I'm that. I have all the letters behind my name. And I get it. That's a great accomplishment, but nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And the way you do this is by who you are, not what you do. And people will follow you because of who you are, not just because of what you do or what position you hold. And so a title and position or pay grade doesn't dictate how you show up. A 360 leader doesn't say, when I get the position, then I'll lead. When I get this promotion, then I'll act like a whatever. You show up and you make the position. The position does not make you. That is a 360 leader. Okay. Number 6, you lead from behind your front door before attempting to lead outside of it. One of the things that I struggled with early on in my marriage, and as a father and as a leader of my home, is that I can go out into the military, into the healthcare system as a naval officer, and I can lead very easily because people listened. It's another thing to try to get your family members to listen whenever you are not present and listening to them. And a lot of people I see, they can go and have very, very big success in their professional life, but their personal life is a wreck. And what I've found is that if my personal life is struggling, then my professional life is going to struggle too. And vice versa. If my professional life is struggling, my personal life is going to take a hit. And so you have to understand that the catalyst in those two is who you are. When you show up as your authentic self, your personal life is going to be good. Your professional life is going to be good. But when you're trying to be all things to everybody, that's where you fail, because you're wearing this mask when you come home. You're putting on this mask when you go to work. And you have to understand that you are that catalyst. And whenever you lead with your authentic self, you're able to take you with you. And so no matter what interaction you're with, no matter what conversation you're in, no matter what relationship you're pouring into, they're getting your best self, right? And then I also want you to understand this. Don't go to the office or go to your work and give everybody the best of you, only to give your family the rest of you. I want you to understand that you have to make sure that you invest your time, your energy, and your efforts into your family as well. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that are going to be at your bedside when you're taking your last breath. They're going to be the ones at your funeral. They're going to be the ones there for you whenever everybody else is gone. And so you have to understand that, a 360 leader attempts and leads behind the front door way before they try to lead outside of it. Okay. Number 7, you embrace a learner's mindset. This is so important. you know, one of the biggest things that I find when it comes to a leader who lacks relevancy, right? The biggest way to become irrelevant in the lives of other people and those you lead is by not learning. And here's a couple of things you need to learn. You need to constantly learn about yourself, understand the self-awareness, the self-realization of who you are and who you're becoming. Number two is you need to start learning about your people. What do they actually need? Do you guess or do you assume, or do you actually ask good questions? Because the level of your leadership is going to be determined by the level of questions that you ask. But how many times have you seen somebody, or you have done this, where you're quick to give an answer, but very, very rarely do you ask questions? You see, when you embrace a learner's mindset, you seek knowledge and wisdom from those around you, no matter what level they're at. The most foolish thing that I've seen leaders do, and I continue to see them do, is they don't ask questions to people who are below them. And I say below them on the totem pole, like as far as rank or position. They assume that because they are a lower pay grade, that they might not know as much. And that's the most idiotic thing that I can think of somebody doing, because what we see now is this generational gap between higher level leadership and the lower level leadership. And how you bridge that is by asking questions and collaborating, getting to understand the difference in generations. It makes you more relevant. And so when you embrace the learner's mindset, you understand that there's things that I don't know. And in fact, there's things that I can learn about other people and from other people. And when you do this, you increase your chances of staying relevant and staying resilient, but also helping those around you. And it allows you to grow as a person. And the difference between a good leader and a great leader is the relevancy that they have in the lives of those they lead and those they love. And understand that the world is changing every single day. And if you don't change with it, you will be left behind. So constantly embrace this learner's mindset. What books are you reading? What knowledge are you seeking? Because when you do this, you become a river, not a reservoir. You know, people at reservoir, they hold on to stuff and they think about the good old days. And then a reservoir just sits still and it collects crap and it doesn't give anything. It just sits there and it collects all this nastiness. But a river is constantly and ever flowing. And as you gain knowledge, you give knowledge. And as you grow other people. And so think about this analogy as a river, not a reservoir. How are you being a river and flowing and giving life to those that you lead and those you love? You do this by continually growing. All right, number 8. You are an engine, not an anchor. You see, there's two types of people in life. There's engines and there's anchors. Engines push you forward. They lift you up. They get you in the right position to take off. Anchors consistently drag you down. Chances are you probably have those in your life right now. And what I found is that if you continue to surround yourself by anchors, you will never take off. You will never reach your full potential. And if you can't do that, then you can't help others reach their full potential or take off. And so you have to get clear, because a 360 leader understands that if I'm going to grow, I got to let go. And sometimes that's family. Sometimes that's close friends. Sometimes it's the people that once said that they loved you and that they care about you. And it's not that they don't, but understand that they are sometimes not willing to grow with you. And if you're not growing with me, you're not going with me. And here's the thing. If you're surrounding yourself by anchors, you will never, ever reach your full potential. You will always be bogged down by the problems and the gossip and the naysayers. I want you to understand, get around engines, people that are going to lift you up. And as a leader, you're an engine. You're lifting people up and you're pushing them forward. You're not dragging them down. I can't tell you how many leaders pull people down and prevent them from taking off simply out of envy or because of their own lack of self-awareness. And so as a lead 360 or a 360 leader, you are an engine and never an anchor. You are aware of the areas of your life where you're being an anchor, whether that's with your spouse, your kids, or your people you lead. Never drag them down, but always give them the resources to excel, even if that means that they're going to surpass you, even if that means that they're going to, outrank you or get a higher position or higher pay than you. That's okay. I always tell people, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. And if I can help you be better than me, then that's better than just helping you get to my level. And you should always want people to succeed and to excel past you. That means that you did your job. That's the analogy of standing on the shoulders of giants, right? You should get to where you are so you can help people get to where they are, even if that means that they can see further and go further than you, right? How selfish is it to stop somebody because you have yet to grow and continue to grow? And what I tell my coaching clients is, I'm glad you're in the group. Understand this, you will never outgrow me, because I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly going forward. I'm constantly growing. And my job is that if I'm going to lead you, I got to lead me. Going back to, point number 1, And if I'm going to be an engine, I got to continue to grow. I got to continue to go forward because I'm going to push you forward. I'm going to grow you as well. And I'm going to help you grow. And if I can't do it for me, then I can't do it for you. Remember, you can never give what you do not have. And anchors, just because they set their ass down and are sitting still and not wanting to move forward, how dare them try to drag you down with them? But that's the reality. So you have to understand that a 360 leader is an engine, never an anchor. Okay. Number 9, you understand this concept of be, do, have. For a long time, I used to think that if I have more, then I could be more. If I have more money, that could be more successful. If I have a bigger house, then maybe people will like me more, accept me more. If I have the nicer cars, then, you get the analogy. We live in a world now where we see the highlight reel. We see what people have, and we think, man, if I have that, then I can be somebody. A 360 leader understands that in order to have what you want in life and in order to do what you want to do in life, you have to first be that person. And so we're in a constant state of becoming. We're growing. We're understanding that sometimes I don't need a to-do list. Oftentimes I need a to-be list. Who do I need to be today? Who do I need to be for my family? Who do I need to be for those I lead? Who do I need to be for those I love? Who do I need to be for myself? Who do I need to be in this moment? How would my best self show up? And a 360 leader asks himself constantly this question: who do I need to be in this moment? And with that comes intention, that comes influence and impact, because you understand that in this moment, I need to be something bigger or better or greater than what I'm currently am. And maybe you go into a meeting and you lack confidence and you ask yourself, who do I need to be? I need to be more confident. Okay, cool. How do I do that? When I step on stage, I ask myself, who do I need to be for this audience? What do they need from me? And then by asking the question, your brain comes up with that answer and you understand that, hey, you know what? I don't need to be Lieutenant Wait when I come home. I need to be dad. I need to be husband. I need to be father. I need to be the family person. When I go to work and I see my patients or I'm teaching in this classroom, who do I need to be for my students or my patients? And so you have to understand that a 360 leader understands this: be, do, have. You're not concerned about everything, all the things that you have, more than being concerned with who do you need to become. And this leads me to the last one, number 10. You understand that life happens for you, never to you. You never play the victim card. Now, I know, this is going to kind of irk some people, but let me tell you from somebody that played the victim card for about 28 years of my life. I always thought that things happened to me. Why does this happen to me? Why this is not fair? And here's the thing: life's not created fair. It's not supposed to be fair. But if you take time to learn the lesson, life will stop giving you the test. The problem with most of you is that you failed to learn the lesson, so life continues to give you the test. If you go through a breakup or if you go through an adverse event, it's our job to stop and pause and say, okay, why did that happen? And how can I prevent that from happening again? When you take ownership of your situation, you realize that, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to start correcting the people that I hang out with. Maybe I need to change, who I'm dating, because if not, I'm going to find myself in the same relationships. But most people just live their life on repeat. Some people live to be 90 years old and some people live 1 year 90 times. And when we play this victim mentality, what we're doing is we're putting our life on repeat and we're playing these old tapes that do not serve us. And this victim mentality will never serve us. This victim mentality will always keep us less than. And you weren't created to be less than. You were created to be abundant in prosperity, and you're supposed to be, exceeding expectations. You're supposed to be reaching your full potential and living on purpose. But the sad thing is that most people play this victim card of something that happened in their childhood or what their parents did to them. I mean, I get it, man. I understand. And that was me for a long time. And I'll tell you, the victim mentality never serves anybody. And so how do we switch from a victim mentality to a victorious mindset? That goes with understanding that life never happens to you. It's always happening for you. And every test that you've received, there's a lesson to be learned. You see, in grade school, we're given a lesson and then we take a test. But in life, we're given a test and it's up to us to learn the lesson. And so a 360 leader understands that if I go back in this memory bank and I look at all the things that happened in my life, all the things that happened to me, if I go back there and reflect on those and write them out and get them out of my brain, don't just think it, you got to ink it and look at these problems that I think are stopping me. You can start looking at, you know what? I'm the problem and I'm the solution. Oftentimes, all the problems that I had was, hey, you know what? I'm making this problem bigger than what it needs to be. Therefore, I'm the problem. And if I'm going to solve this, if I'm the problem, then I'm the solution. And how do I solve this? By becoming more. And a 360 leader understands that life never happens to me. It's always happened for me. And so we take these adversities and use them to our advantage. And if you're able to do that, that's where the breakthroughs happen. No longer are you broken in the process, you have breakthrough in the process. And so these are the 10 rules for becoming a 360 leader. If these resonated with you and you're watching this on YouTube, comment below and let me know which one resonated the most. If you're listening to the podcast and you want to submit questions, you can go ahead and send them to Anthony@anthonywaitespeaks.com. That's my email, and I'll get them and I'll answer your questions. But let me know in the comments below, if you're watching this on YouTube, which one of these resonated the most with you, and how are you practicing these in your life right now? I want to say thank you for joining me for episode number 1 of the Lead 360 podcast. I'm excited for this new platform. I hope you are too. And if this resonated with you, I encourage you to follow the show. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel for updates, and also share this with somebody who you think might need to know this, to grow and to be the leader that they need to be, as we share the principles and practices for success personally and professionally. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you on the next episode.